Tonight, 2 Gold Coast kids struck down with deadly meningococcal disease. Rob Borbich claims Aboriginal Cultural Centre on the ropes. Council moves a step closer to banning pit bulls, and a bit of battle looming in the 4X Premiership. That's coming up.
Christmas starts at Crazy Clark's with our cattle.
Giving you a low rate as well as the choice to use your equity for other investments. Tonight after sale, the road to a better garden with Burke's Backyard. Then at 8:30, Julia Roberts and Dennis Quaid star in your Friday night movie, Something to Talk About.
This program is proudly brought to you by Australian Women's Weekly and Goodyear Auto Service Centres.
This is 9 Gold Coast News with Karl Stefannovic.
Deadly meningococcal disease strikes down 2 Gold Coast children. Borbich claims Aboriginal Cultural Centre on the ropes. Council moves a step closer to banning pit bulls, and a bitter battle for the 4X Premiership. Good evening. 2 young Gold Coast children are in hospital with the deadly meningococcal disease. Classmates at 3 kindergartens and preschools are being treated with antibiotics as a precaution. Doctors are hopeful the children will make a full recovery.
It's believed the 2 cases are unrelated. A 5-year-old girl who attended a MUDGEERABA preschool and a Talai daycare centre, and a 3-year-old girl from a Narang childcare centre, both diagnosed in the past 24 hours. They're now recovering in the Gold Coast and Tweed hospitals.
While I'm not saying that this is a time for panic on the Gold Coast community, it's a nasty disease and we always do maintain some level of awareness.
Shaken family members, teachers and about 100 classmates are being treated with antibiotics.
Just be watchful of your children. If they run a temperature, if they're vomiting, if they may be a bit susceptible to light and they get a stiff neck, please go and see your local practitioner or your GP.
Meningococcal is potentially fatal. It can cause blood poisoning and infect the outer brain lining and spinal cord. However, doctors are hopeful neither girl has spread the disease. Meantime, health authorities also believe they've headed off a possible Legionnaire's disease outbreak at the Gold Coast TAFE after a person was hospitalised for tests.
At present, we think that the whole affair is over and done with. While we're doing constantly monitoring, it's purely a safety issue.
Higher than normal levels of the bacteria were discovered in air conditioning units on the roof of the TAFE car park.
No one has to be evacuated, all that, but so far everyone's just waiting to hear what's going to happen.
The 10-day incubation period for Legionella will expire on Sunday. Matthew Clark, 9 Gold Coast News.
State Opposition Leader Rob Borbich has been forced to backpedal after claiming the government had rejected a proposal for an Aboriginal Cultural Centre at the Spit. The government claims the proposal is still being considered, despite the Kombumerri people losing interest in the Southport site.
This morning, Opposition Leader Rob Borbich welcomed the government's rejection of a proposed $40 million Aboriginal Cultural Centre for Southport Spit. It was planned for a public park opposite SeaWorld.
It was my understanding that the government had got the very strong community message.
The problem is the government has not rejected the proposal. It is still very much alive. It seems, though, that the proponents, the Kombumerri people, have lost interest. When confronted with the opposition's mistaken claim, spokesman David Dillon announced he wasn't that keen on the venture anyway.
I thought it was going to be a prickly issue going there anyhow. I'm actually quite relieved.
Dave Dillon admits it was the wrong time and the wrong site. He believes at some point down the track, the Kombumerri people may consider a more prominent site for the cultural centre.
I believe there is a better location, and that would probably be in Surfers Paradise somewhere.
Rob Borbich agrees.
If we're going to have the cultural centre, there are other sites for the cultural centre, but not in the middle of a park that belongs to everyone.
Tamara Pooley, 9 Gold Coast News.
A Gold Coast man will face trial in the Supreme Court accused of assaulting his pregnant de facto, killing the twins she was carrying. Peter John Selleck was charged today with 2 counts of manslaughter following a coronial inquest.
Jake and Serenity Harold were just over 22 weeks gestation when their mother Anita was allegedly assaulted. She later miscarried in the Gold Coast Hospital, the babies dying within an hour of their premature births. Harold's ex-de facto, 33-year-old Peter John Selleck, today fronted Southport Magistrates Court for the result of a coronial inquiry into the deaths. A gynaecologist from the Gold Coast Hospital reading from Harold's medical charts, which listed bruising to her face, back and legs and scratching on her upper abdomen. Harold told medical staff she'd been punched and kicked and had a possible fracture of her jaw. The prosecutor asked the magistrate to impose the more serious charge of murder, arguing it should be left to a jury to decide whether or not Selleck actually intended to kill the babies. But the defence contended there was no evidence directly linking the assault with the miscarriage. Magistrate Tina Privatera committed Selleck to trial on 2 counts of manslaughter. He received bail on the condition he doesn't approach Harold. Matthew Clark, 9 Gold Coast News.
An elderly couple was rushed to hospital this afternoon after their minibus ran into a carport. The accident happened on Bayview Street at Runaway Bay just after midday. The vehicle crossed over the footpath through a garden before narrowly missing Jean McLaughlin's house.
The worst noise I've ever heard in my life. I didn't know where it was coming. I didn't know the roof was caving in, whether the walls were caving in of the unit. I just couldn't believe what happened.
Firefighters believe the driver may have had a heart attack and blacked out. Emotions ran high as councillors addressed the controversial pit bull issue today, the breed now another step closer to being banned. Despite desperate attempts by Lex Bell to defer the decision, the majority voted in favour of a new local law.
A huge gallery as council removed itself from Nerang to stage a meeting in Robina. Councillor Lex Bell took the floor on dog restrictions, claiming the proposed local law is riddled with flaws.
Well, I'm astonished that council could pass legislation that it knows before it votes on it is absolutely flawed.
He says more than half the dogs in the city are at jeopardy of being classed in the same category as a pit bull, 100 out of 180 breeds meeting restricted dog criteria.
There's no way in the world a small fox terrier or some dachshund is going to be swept into that. I think that's just a red herring. And I totally reject it.
Despite today's vote, there's still a way to go before it becomes legislation. Councillor Bell's certain the lengthy process will come unstuck.
Those who are wanting to do something in a hurry are going to be very sorely disappointed in about 6 months' time.
Also today, Councillor Dawn Critchlow censured for installing a half basketball court in Owen Park, and there was strong support for Councillor Eddie Saroff over the controversial Code of Conduct.
To dilute that says grave things about our city.
And today the councillors listened to the debate, but they were not interested in getting the best outcome for the community.
And the issue's far from dead.
I will take it up with the Minister. Thank you for your support, and it's quite disappointing.
Danny Vucanovic, 9 Gold Coast News.
Billabong's new competition is shaping up to be the Davis Cup of surfing. The international event will feature 20 of the world's best surfers and is expected to kick off in March.
It's been a busy couple of days for the CEO of Billabong, having just signed off on a new international surfing deal.
And we're really excited that it'll be an event that really does capture the imagination of everyone.
The Billabong Cup will replace the Billabong Pro, pulling out of the World Championship Tour yesterday.
We thought it was time to come up with something fresh and innovative for the Gold Coast.
The Billabong Cup will feature teams from the United States and Australia in a similar format to the Davis Cup, with 4 rounds of competition, including pair surfing and a reverse draw.
I think it's going to be a great opportunity for surfers on the Gold Coast and people who are interested in surfing to see some of the best surfers in the world in a lot more looser environment than what you might see them in a normal WCT event.
And to see the world's best surfers in a very creative format, I think is really exciting as well.
Billabong will continue to sponsor 3 men's WCT events overseas. If given the final tick of approval by the Association of Surfing Professionals, the competition should kick off in March next year. Pippa Gardner, 9 Gold Coast News.
Homeowner warning over real estate commissions, that's next. Then the school kids remembering fallen heroes.
Tonight on National 9 News with Bruce Page and Heather Ford.
US presidential race set to be fought out in court. Bill Darcy's super payout under review. Gold fever strikes again in Gympie.
Then on A Current Affair with Mike Munro.
The great Aussie talent drain.
Queensland's best teachers poached to prop up the British. Plus the comedian who's the face of a controversial weight loss pill.
Queensland's leading hour of news and current affairs from 6 o'clock on 9.
Sub 97, thanks. Red Rooster's Mediterranean chicken strips. Lettuce, that's what I want. Red Rooster.
This week on Saturday Extra, lose weight and stay healthy in just a few minutes a day. And Natalie meets the pioneering Gold Coast family, opening up their historic home to visitors. That's this week, 5:30 on 9.
Welcome back to 9 Gold Coast News live from Surfers Paradise. A real estate warning tonight for local and interstate investors. Some agents on the coast are preying on unwary clients by bumping up their commission rates, leaving buyers thousands of dollars out of pocket.
Reports of buyers and sellers being ripped off by Gold Coast real estate agents and marketers has reached alarming levels.
I receive a minimum of 1 complaint a day from a consumer. If not a complaint, a query of, have I done the right thing? How much should I have paid?
Recently, a Gold Coast-based marketer was fined almost $5,000 for ripping off a client. Peter Kinchin sold an Orang home for just under $200,000. He then charged the owners $20,000 in commission. Legally, the owner should have only been charged a quarter of that.
On a normal residential sale, the government tell us or legislate that the maximum we can charge is 5% on the first $18,000 of any sale and 2.5% on the balance of the sale price.
Interstate buyers are also being targeted. Marketers are bumping up prices of properties to people unaware of the coast realty market.
And someone coming out of the eastern suburbs of Sydney and come to the Gold Coast from an investment seminar, if they see a property here at $174,000, 5 kilometres off a surf beach, to them, they're getting an absolute bargain.
The Real Estate Institute recommends owners always check how much commission they're being charged and check out the market before buying. Anyone who thinks they may have been ripped off in a property scam should contact the Department of Fair Trading. Pippa Gardner, 9 Gold Coast News.
Gold Coast solicitor turned best-selling author Chris Neist is on the publicity trail. He's promoting his latest courtroom thriller titled Gone. The novel centres on the disappearance of 2 children from a beach and is based on the well-known Beaumont case. Today, the author entertained a luncheon with tales of dirty deeds in pre-Fitzgerald Queensland. He claims many readers are sure they know who his characters are based on.
I don't think Peter Foster makes an appearance in the book, but somebody might find him there, you see. That's the interesting thing.
Thousands of people, young and old, will pause tomorrow to remember those who gave their lives fighting for our country. Today, our school kids took time out to honour the fallen. Fresh young faces under clear blue skies, honouring generations past who sacrificed their youth for their country.
I think it's important that we remember the people that were in the war, and I think, as with anything, it's best to start with the young people because they really are the next generation.
In the St Stephen's quadrangle, school kids gathered to mark the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month.
Yeah, I think there's been a resurgence. I think 50 years on too, and the time spent in celebration there has awakened the kids to the significance of days like this.
60,000 Australians died during World War I. Our population was only 5 million.
I feel it's important that everybody does know what it is because it is a part of our history no matter what country you come from.
And for youngsters like Richard Downing, today is of special significance. He may end up taking the same risks his forefathers did.
I want to be a pilot and I'm actually currently flying, and I just want to be in the Defence Force because it's a way to pay back my country.
The latest on the weekend sport is after the break, and a silver medal Paralympian says thanks to the Gold Coast.
Sunday, the team get back to basics. The best 30 Saturday on 9. You're with 9 Gold Coast News, live from 50 Cavill Avenue in the heart of Surfers Paradise.
4X Premiership action returns to the Gold Coast this weekend with Burleigh Heads hosting round 2 of the prestigious club competition. MUDGEERABA struck the first blow with a win at North Caloundra 2 weeks ago, determined to dethrone Surfers Paradise this season. Defending state club champions Surfers Paradise are under siege from a cashed-up and desperate Mooloolaba, heading into round 2 of the 4X Premiership Carnival this weekend. While Surfers will be bolstered by Ironman champion Nathan Meyer and world champion Carla Gilbert, Mooloolaba has been busy during the off-season, securing the services of a number of stars, including Surf League's Mercer brothers. The Oakskin surfboats will also take to the water on the Gold Coast tomorrow, with the world champion Kurrawa crew out to maintain their unbeaten run. The defending series champions could wrap up this year's title with a win tomorrow. 2 calmer waters and the Southport swimming pool will spring into action tomorrow, with teams from around the country taking part in the annual Heritage Classic. The Classic is a distance carnival catering for all ages. Racing starts from 9. Shane Walsh today thanked the Gold Coast community for their generous support in the lead-up to the Sydney Paralympics. The 23-year-old freestyler returned from the Games with a silver medal and now has his sights set on gold in Athens.
Shane Walsh clutches the fruits of a lifetime's work in his hands most places he goes. A silver medal won in Australia's 4x100 metre freestyle relay at the Paralympics. His success in the pool due in no small way to the efforts of member for McPherson Margaret May and the Gold Coast community.
The Gold Coast community can be extremely proud of themselves that they got behind and helped Shane get to where he was.
Shane's silver medal achievement came just a week after his mother died suddenly. He had contemplated retiring from the Aussie team, but instead decided to swim in her honour.
I know she would have been very proud. It was pretty much one of my main focus, as well as just to be able to win a medal for my mother.
Shane now has Athens in his sight and is confident if he receives the right level of sponsorship, his silver will turn gold. Jason Sintome, 9 Gold Coast News.
Super Touring Championship leader Paul Morris is preparing for a cat-and-mouse duel with Sydney's John Henderson in Adelaide this weekend. Second-placed Henderson, behind the wheel of a Holden Vectra, will start favourite on the tight circuit.
On the track, Morris is performing at 100%, but away from it, he's still suffering the effects of July's horrific Oran Park accident.
About 75%, I'd say. When I'm in the car, it doesn't really bother me, but when I get out of it after a day's driving, it sort of gives me a bit of trouble. But
the series leader left for Adelaide this afternoon and has an appointment with the Malala racetrack tomorrow. It's a circuit which favours front-wheel drive cars due to the length of the straights and tight corners.
It's a pretty difficult track for the BMW, but we should be able to make it work around there. We seemed to get away with it last year, and looking forward to getting there, really.
Sydney's John Henderson is in second place in the 2-litre series. He's also behind the wheel of a front-wheel drive Holden Vectra. But to take the race, Henderson will have to beat the powerful BMW off the line.
Yeah, I can get in front. I'll tell you, it'll be pretty hard to get past me.
Jason Sintome, 9 Gold Coast News.
All the fishing, surf, beach and weather conditions are next. Then the artists gambling on Casino Jackpot.
Tonight, a true labour of love.
I've always been a gut girl. This dress was fitted and it's not fitted anymore.
And the 25th anniversary of the dismissal. Tonight with Mike Munro.
Tonight's weather report, proudly brought to you by Harvey Norman's Bundle and Tweed Head Superstores.
Good evening, everyone. The day stayed fairly dry on the coast. No showers to speak of and little change as we move into the weekend. We had a mild night, lows in the high teens, reaching 24 today, 28 in the ranges. Winds from the east this evening at 11 knots with 21 degrees. The chart shows a large high over the bottom of the country, sending a ridge onto the coast over the next few days. And it's looking a little grey out there this afternoon, some high cloud moving in from the border, more showers on the way. A good weekend coming up for divers, visibility reaching 15 metres, and the tip is to head out early. Winds from the east-northeast offshore tomorrow, higher seas to 1.5 metres. High tide at 20 to 8 in the morning, sunset 13 past 6. The Bureau says only a few isolated showers for the weekend. It should stay fine most of the time, with light to moderate south to northeasterlies, temps ranging from 17 to 24 degrees. And more scattered showers as we move ahead, the maximum staying in the mid-20s into early next week. And Fipsy's back on the balcony with me tonight. Where can the anglers head this weekend for some good fishing?
Yeah, thanks, Natalie. Despite the weather being a little bit ordinary over the last few days, there are plenty of fish about, so let's check out some hot spots for the weekend. A species that is unusual in our waters is the Australian salmon, but quite a few have been taken in the seaway and off the beaches of late. They are great sport fish, but only average on the table. Des Charles reports that the fishing has not been better in Hinsdam recently. Bass have been very productive on lures and live shrimp, but the surprising thing is that the yellowbelly population has been ravenous, with plenty of quality specimens caught and released this week. Gone Fishing Charter scored a nice feed of flathead from the Broadwater today, with live herring the productive bait. This young fellow definitely was happy with his day out on the water. Offshore, BK's charter scored a nice rosy jobfish and a small snapper from the 24 fathom line yesterday. And finally, if you're into fresh or saltwater fly fishing, on Sunday the 12th at Winders Park, Currumbin from 8 a.m, we will be having a fly fishing expo. There'll be fly tying demonstrations with all things of feather and fur available. The VMR will be on the water with demos, and we'll be raising money for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And Nat, all are welcome. That's going to be a fantastic day. Please come down and support it.
That sounds like a lot of fun, and it's a good cause. Thanks, Pipsy. And if you're planning a weekend on the water, Glenn and Warren have all the important details.
Thanks, Natalie. Looks like a bit of a patchy weekend coming up for both the weather and the waves, but if you are keen enough, there is some surf around. The onshores picked up overnight and look like hanging around for the weekend. The morning high tide beach breaks will be the best bet for the next couple of days. A bumpy 1/2 to 1 metre swell on offer. Check out the central to southern beaches early. D-Bar again was to pick spots, catching most of that southeast swell. Shane Bevan was out floating over the flat spots, making the most of the deteriorating conditions.
Hit a few bumps, definitely, and it's not really worth it, I don't reckon, after the last 2 mornings.
Point break's a bit small, but worth checking on the midday low tides. Burley, Currumbin and Snapper the pick of the spots. So it looks like we're going to have to persevere with the onshore winds, but still, if you're keen, get out and make the most of it. Here's Warren with the Beach Report. See you next Thursday.
Thanks, Glenn. We're at the beautiful Miami Beach this morning. A little onshore, but still quite nice. Early this morning at Rainbow Bay, a few choosing a stroll as this couple adjust to the water temperature. It really is nice at 22 degrees. And this board rider enjoying the company of some dolphins. Snapper, always a great vantage point as the waves hit the rocks. Burley, conditions in close not too bad, always ideal for toddlers on the sand, and good to see they're dressed for the sun. For the weekend, for swimmers with a southeasterly wind, Rainbow Bay, Greenmount, Coolangatta, also Burley, Currumbin and Palm Beach should be really nice. The open beach is nice in the morning before the wind gets on shore. Water's beautiful at 22 degrees. Please take care, surf safely, remember to swim between the flags. I'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys. And Carl, that's the weather, fishing, boating and surfing for the week.
It's an extraordinary list, isn't it?
It is
Fantastic.
indeed.
And finally, hundreds of artists are tonight awaiting the judges' decision in the Conrad Jupiter's Art Prize.
In a major coup for the Gold Coast City Art Gallery, the masters are now gracing the walls, Da Vinci and Warhol among them. Not their artworks as such, but lifelike figurines. It's a comic entry in the prestigious art prize by local artist Alistair McIntyre.
And I thought, well, why aren't my heroes, made into figures? And so I thought I'd do it myself. No one else has done it.
Alistair faces strong competition. More than 200 artists are vying for the prize. Melbourne-based Juan Ford has his fingers crossed.
I'm inspired and a little frightened because it's a very high standard.
Antonia Sim has the challenging task of judging a wide range of media. She'll reveal the winner tomorrow night, and not before.
You're not giving anything away.
I'm not close to choosing a winner yet.
Tamara Pooley, 9 Gold Coast News.
And just before we go, tomorrow on Saturday Extra, I found a place at Tweed Heads which is keeping the traditions of pioneers alive. I try my hand at opal mining, whip cracking, and I even get to milk a cow with one of the oldest families on the coast. So be watching at 5:30. You don't want to miss it.
Look forward to it, especially the milking of the cows. Well, that is Gold Coast News to now. Rob's back with you Monday night.
Bruce and Heather along next with National 9 News. Have a great weekend.
From all the team, good night.
Good night.
With Bruce Page and Heather Ford, this is National 9 News.
2 dead, several injured in a mystery gassing on the Barrier Reef.
Tempers flare as America's election deadlock heads for the courts.
Another gold rush at Gympie. Good evening.
Good evening.
In a story still unfolding, 2 men have been killed in a mystery gassing on the Barrier Reef. 4 others have been flown to hospital. Water police are on their way to a tourist pontoon at Kelso Reef, northeast of Townsville. It's believed the victims were carrying out a routine inspection of the pontoon.
The 4 survivors were flown the 95 kilometres to Townsville from Kelso Reef after collapsing from what's believed to be carbon monoxide poisoning.